everyone, and welcome to Booming Encore's Tweet Talks. This is where we talk about what's going on in the world and what's possibly trending. Today, I'm joined by Mike Drak. Mike is the author of Victory Lap Retirement, and my name is Susan Williams, and I'm the founder of Booming Encore. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Not bad, Susan.
Okay, so let's start off with one of the first topics. Actually, I was inspired by you in our conversation we had a while back about going to the cottage to kind of wait out this self-isolation. Both of you and I are very fortunate in that we both have cottages. But after I did a bit of research, I discovered that maybe this isn't the right thing to do. What are you thinking about this?
I'm still going.
Are you?
I'm glad you wrote that article because it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I need to consider. Because it wouldn't be fair. It would be silly to go somewhere else and maybe pass the virus off to someone else. And you have to be careful. So if you're going to do it, you have to do it the right way. I think if you left, like I live in Toronto, so if I could get in the car here and go direct to the cottage and not stop anywhere, not interact with any people, spend a day or two there in isolation, and then come direct back home, I think it's workable. But you don't want to go up there and go to a gas station or go to a grocery store. And you sure don't want to go up there if you're not feeling well and maybe end up in a hospital because they don't have the capacity up there to take care of people, especially people from out of town. So you have to think it through. You have to maintain this isolation. So you cannot interact with people or go to places up there other than your own cottage and stay there isolated. So.
But what about one of the observations is that you may be asymptomatic, which means that you may not actually be showing any signs is one
Right.
thing. And then the second thing is the signs may not show up for a few days. So you may actually be carrying the virus right now and not even know it. And what if all of a sudden you have to go to the healthcare system there?
The first thing I would do if I felt anything, I'd come directly home.
Okay. Well,
It's
I
only
to
a
be quite honest,
2-hour. Yeah, it's only a 2-hour drive, and as soon if you felt anything, number one, you wouldn't go. But if you're up there and you started feeling something, I'm in the car, I'm gone, I'm back home.
okay. Well, I think this is one of those topics that you and I are going to disagree on, and which is
That's okay.
probably why we're having this conversation. Because quite honestly, I feel that we should listen to what the health authorities are telling us, which is basically stay where you are. We're all supposed to just stay in our homes, stay where we are. At least they know the numbers that they're dealing with, the risks of potential contamination,
Sure.
moving, because we know this virus moves, I think is way too risky. And quite honestly, I disagree with you vehemently on this one. So
There's nothing wrong with that. But what I keep saying is, as long as you practice risk mitigation, you don't want to, if you are infected, you do not want to pass it on to anyone else. You do not want to increase the risk of that happening. And that's why you have to ensure you remain isolated. I can't see the difference from going to a cottage and not, interacting with people to maybe going to the grocery store here in Toronto where there's all kinds of people and you're maintaining this 6-foot distance. But, I view it the same way. You have to be smart about how you do things, right? You have to be very smart and you have to take care of other people around you.
okay, well, on that note, then we will agree, but on the other, we will agree to
That's
disagree, I
okay.
guess.
But I have some fish waiting for me, so I have to go visit them.
Okay, all right. Well, we won't go on this one too much longer. Okay,
All
second
right.
topic. Second topic is there was an article that was written by a reporter from Bloomberg, and the topic was, what if baby boomers decide not to go back to work? Did you have a chance to read that?
I did.
And so what are you thinking?
It's going to be very disruptive. I don't know how it's going to play out for a period of time because, I think it's going to be hard to crank up the economy. I think it's going to be hard to get businesses going right out of the gate. So we'll have to see how it plays through. Everyone's kind of in the same position. So I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I think there's going to be some job loss for sure in different sectors, but I can't tell how it's going to look like, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think there's a couple things and as the author of this article pointed out, one, we are into some very heavy layoffs slash firings. I think the numbers specifically in the U.S., it was 3.28 million just in a single week, and a
Sure.
quarter of those are workers over 55. So I think what's happening is two things. One, these workers are now being pushed out. Two, I think as you've written in a post and we've also shared before, this is almost like a test on retirement. So people may be finding out, hey, it's not that bad to stay home and maybe I don't need to go back to work is one of the options. And then secondly, we also know that there's the whole ageism issue of hiring older workers. So if they're going to be tossed back into this work pool to compete for jobs, it may not even be a matter of choice. It might be, you know what, there just isn't the opportunity for you right now. But
Yeah.
the reporter's pointing out that this could be a long-term issue because we are going to need workers again. And if we distance ourselves from this particular workforce, this could be a long-term economic impact. So,
No, I agree. But let me make two comments there. Number one, I don't know if I'm like most people, but sitting at home, not being able to go to work is kind of driving me crazy. I like to work. I like to interact with my fellow workers. I love dealing with customers. So no, I could never, through this experience say, no, I want to stay at home and live like this because there's no way I would want to. Number one. Number two is that, this is a point where I would consider, if there's a lot of job loss out there, I'm okay. I can survive. I have enough cash flow coming in for my retirement assets. But I wouldn't want to take a position from someone else that really needs to work to survive.
mhm.
So I would be prepared to step back and say, look, you take that and let's see how this plays out. And there's opportunity for me where it's not going to take away from someone in need. Yeah, then I might jump at it.
Well, that's very considerate of you. That's for sure. And it also might give people the opportunity to think about what they really want to do. So if they do get laid off, maybe there's an option. Maybe that wasn't what they really wanted to do anyways. And this could be a good time to, maybe stop and think about what you might want to do longer term anyways. And maybe it's possibly even changing fields or changing interests or changing careers.
I totally agree with that because I think this is a period where if you're maybe north of 50 and you have some level of financial independence behind you, right? This is a good time to sit back and say, you know what? Maybe I should exit that high stress job I have that I really don't like, that's driving me crazy. It's caused me all kinds of stress and health problems and whatnot, and look at how I can redesign my life. Maybe find part-time work that I would really enjoy, or start my own business and take that step now, right? So there's a lot of new perspective you can get by taking the time, thinking it out, and saying, hey, can I do better when this thing lifts? When I start again, are there better things I could do that would make me happier? So yeah, this is the perfect time to do that type of thinking.
Okay, and so on that note, as you're sharing your wisdom, one of the other posts that we shared out today, it was one that we'd shared previously, but it's always so much fun, and it was advice from older people on what they call their blessings and wisdom of aging. So if you were to share some blessings and wisdom of aging, what would you share?
What would I share? What I would say is, don't be in such a hurry to retire. I'd say be careful what you wish for. Don't fall into that trap that, you have to follow the retirement status quo or the traditional retirement model. I really believe we need a new life model for people, for boomers, Gen X, and millennials. I think we need to put some thought into it because this pandemic exposed a lot of weaknesses. And it's not playing out the way we thought it would be. I think this, Canadian dream, American dream is kind of a nightmare. And this exposes it. And now we have to look at it and say, well, how can we do better? How can we fix it? How can we get it back to a dream again? And so those are opportunities I think we need to look at. It's a time for creativity. It's a time to do deep thinking. And I think we can come out of this thing a lot better. So my advice is just don't sit there and moan. get creative and start working on something.
Yeah,
And
and my advice is,
others.
sorry, go ahead.
And share it with others.
Perfect. Well, my advice would be just try it. I always say that there are so many things, for instance, like what we're doing now, I would never have ever thought of doing before.
Yeah, sure.
But if we just try new things, and I always say, like, figure out what the worst thing that could happen is. And if you can actually deal with what the worst thing that can happen is, then just go for it. Because, like, as we always say, what's the worst thing that can happen? And chances are it's never going to happen anyway. So,
That's right.
just give it a go. Try new things. Experiment, keep learning. I mean, those are all, I know they all sound kind of cliche, but they are so true. And that's what they're finding. People that have died with regrets, the one thing that they all seem to have in common is that they wish they had lived the life that they had wanted, not the life that they thought others expected them to live. And so,
I agree.
don't die with any regrets. Give it a go. Just try it, and if you can live with the worst thing that could possibly happen, chances are it won't. So, I mean, just back it up from there and give it a run.
Well, think about it. We're in a pandemic. We can't go outside, right? I don't know how much worse it can get. But this is the time, really, you're right. You got to sit there and say, hey, if it stopped today, right, would I have any regrets? And those are the things you should be working on now to eliminate those regrets. And speaking about failure, you're so correct. What have we got to be scared about? Look, we're going through a pandemic. What do we care if we fail? So what? Just try something else and give it a shot. We have nothing to lose. And I think this is why this thing is a great learning experience for us all.
Absolutely.
Get back on straight and say, hey, I can go out and try this thing. I went through a pandemic.
Yeah, that'll be our siren call.
That's right. We should get T-shirts.
Okay, Mike. Well, listen, take care of yourself. It was always great talking to you.
All right, you take care.
All right, and to everybody out there, you can find these stories on our Twitter feed, and I hope you found this information valuable. Helps you live your best booming encore. Bye for now, everyone. See you soon, Mike.